In a time when empires stretched as far as the eye could see, the world was a tapestry of power and influence. The Medo-Persian Empire, a magnificent and sprawling dominion, was at its peak. It was a time when kings were seen as gods among men, and idols adorned the halls of power. Amidst this grandeur stood cities that thrived under the rule of powerful kings. Babylon, with its towering ziggurats and bustling markets, was the jewel of the empire. The streets were alive with merchants and scholars, their voices rising in a cacophony of trade and learning. Yet, beneath this veneer of prosperity lay a deeper struggle for power and dominance. The people were caught between the worship of crafted idols and the quiet, persistent call of a god who spoke not in statues, but in whispers of the heart. This tension between earthly power and divine authority set the stage for the incredible story of Daniel. In this milieu of ambition and devotion, Daniel stood as a beacon of faith. His story would become a testament to the enduring power of belief, challenging the very foundations of an empire built on earthly idols. Daniel was no ordinary man in the court of King Darius. He was a figure of wisdom and integrity, respected by the king himself. His reputation for interpreting dreams and visions had earned him a place of honor. Daniel was a Hebrew, one of the many exiles brought to Babylon. Yet he rose through the ranks to become one of the king's most trusted administrators. King Darius valued Daniel greatly, for Daniel's counsel was like a guiding star in the dark nights of governance. He was appointed as one of the 3 governors overseeing the vast empire. Daniel was a man of principle, and his loyalty was to his God first, a fact that did not go unnoticed by those around him. His colleagues, however, viewed him with suspicion and envy. Despite the undercurrents of jealousy, Daniel remained steadfast, his faith serving as his shield and his compass. He was a man who knew where his true loyalty lay, and it was this allegiance to his God that would soon be put to the ultimate test. Jealousy is a powerful motivator, and in the court of King Darius, it simmered beneath the surface. The other officials, unable to find fault in Daniel's work, sought another way to diminish his influence. They devised a sinister plan, an edict that would force Daniel into a corner. Their plot was simple yet cunning. They appealed to the king's vanity, suggesting a decree that for 30 days, no one could pray to any god or man except King Darius. The trap was set, and the officials presented their proposal to the king. Flattered by the idea of being the sole focus of worship, King Darius agreed, unaware of the true intent behind the decree. The law was signed and sealed, becoming irrevocable according to the customs of the Medes and Persians. For Daniel, the decree was a test of his faith and his loyalty to his God. The officials knew that he would never forsake his prayers, and they watched him closely, like vultures circling their prey. The stage was set for a confrontation that would test the limits of human cunning against divine will. True to his nature, Daniel did not waver. Despite the decree, he continued to pray 3 times a day, as was his custom. He opened his windows towards Jerusalem and knelt down in prayer, facing the city of his ancestors. For Daniel, this act was not just a ritual. It was a connection to his God, a lifeline that he would not sever even in the face of danger. His prayers were a testament to his unwavering faith, a declaration that no earthly law could override his devotion. Daniel's actions were not done in secrecy. He knew the consequences of his defiance but remained resolute. The officials, watchful and eager, seized this opportunity. They approached King Darius with evidence of Daniel's defiance. The king, bound by the law he had enacted, was caught in a dilemma. In this moment of crisis, Daniel's faith stood as a beacon of hope amidst the shadows of human ambition. The arrest of Daniel was swift and without ceremony. The officials had orchestrated their plot with meticulous precision, and now they reveled in their apparent triumph. Daniel was brought before King Darius, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to the frenzy of accusations surrounding him. The king, torn between his affection for Daniel and the inescapable decree, faced a moral quandary that weighed heavily on his conscience. The sentence was clear and irreversible. Daniel was to be cast into the lion's den. The officials, smug in their success, watched with satisfaction as the king reluctantly ordered the execution of the decree. Daniel, however, remained unshaken. His faith was a fortress, shielding him from the fear that might have overwhelmed another. As he was led to the den, he carried with him the quiet assurance that his God would deliver him. The entrance to the den was sealed with a stone, and the king's signet ring confirmed the decree. As the stone settled into place, the king's heart was heavy with remorse, and the court fell silent. That night, King Darius found no peace. His heart was a battlefield of conflicting emotions. The king, who commanded vast armies and ruled a mighty empire, found himself powerless against the decree he had unwittingly sanctioned. His thoughts were consumed by the image of Daniel, a faithful servant unjustly condemned. As the hours passed, the weight of his decision pressed down upon him, robbing him of sleep and solace. In the quiet of his chambers, King Darius wrestled with his guilt. He had been ensnared by the flattery of his officials, and now he faced the consequences of their deceit. The king had grown fond of Daniel, admiring his wisdom and integrity. Now, the very laws that were meant to protect the empire had become instruments of injustice. The night stretched on, an endless procession of regret and remorse. As dawn approached, King Darius rose, driven by a desperate need to know Daniel's fate. The silence of the early morning was broken only by the sound of his footsteps, each one bringing him closer to the moment of truth. With the first light of dawn, King Darius reached the lion's den. His heart raced as he commanded the stone to be rolled away. The officials, along with a gathering crowd, watched in anticipation. As the stone was moved, the king called out to Daniel, his voice tinged with both hope and trepidation. The silence that followed was heavy, charged with the tension of the unknown. To the astonishment of all, Daniel's voice emerged from the darkness, calm and assured. "O king, live forever," Daniel replied. "My God sent his angel, and he shut the mouths of the lions. They have not hurt me, because I was found innocent in his sight." The crowd gasped, and whispers of astonishment rippled through the throng. King Darius's face lit up with relief and joy. He ordered Daniel to be lifted out of the den, and as Daniel emerged, the marks of divine protection were evident. The miraculous survival of Daniel was a turning point, not just for him, but for the entire empire. The spectacle of Daniel's deliverance resonated throughout the land, a story of faith that would be told for generations. In the aftermath of the miracle, King Darius's perspective was irrevocably changed. The king, who had once decreed that he alone should be worshipped, now recognized the supremacy of Daniel's God. Moved by the power he had witnessed, Darius issued a new decree, one that would echo throughout the vast expanse of his empire. The decree declared that all in the kingdom should revere the God of Daniel, for he was the living God, enduring forever. His kingdom would not be destroyed, and his dominion would never end. The king spoke of the God who rescues and saves, who performs signs and wonders in the heavens and on the earth, and who had rescued Daniel from the power of the lions. This was a testimony to a God who was not bound by human law, but who acted with justice and mercy. The king's words spread across the land, reaching from the grandest city to the smallest village, an invitation to acknowledge a power greater than any empire. The proclamation was more than just words. It was a call to faith, a reminder that true power lay not in idols or decrees, but in the hands of the living God. Through Daniel's faith and the ensuing miracle, a kingdom was reminded of the eternal power of the divine. The story of Daniel in the lion's den is more than just an account of survival. It is a powerful narrative of faith and divine justice. Daniel's unwavering belief in his God, even in the face of a death sentence, is a testament to the strength of faith. His story reminds us that true courage is found in standing firm in one's beliefs, regardless of the consequences imposed by human authority. Through Daniel's ordeal, we see the triumph of divine justice over human schemes. Daniel's survival was a vindication not just of his innocence, but of the righteousness of his God. King Darius's transformation is equally significant. A ruler who once succumbed to flattery and manipulation found redemption through the witness of a miracle. In the end, the moral of the story is clear. Faith is an unassailable fortress against the trials and tribulations of life. The story of Daniel in the lion's den continues to inspire, reminding us that faith can move mountains and that trust in the divine can light the darkest paths.